Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this is video number 1000 on the channel. And it's only fitting that video number 1000 is sponsored by contribution from Peggy, who has been one of my long-term, most loyal subscribers. And those who don't know Peggy, lost her husband Michael not too long ago. Long-term cancer, died on the floor, and she's had a lot of experience with narcissism in her life. The last video I think I did for her was Narcissistic Talladega. So she has sent in another audio file. So here we go.
Hi Ollie, Peggy here. This audio file comes with a PayPal donation. This is a follow-up to the video Narcissistic Talladega that you did for me almost a year ago. To give a brief recap for those not familiar with the backstory, I had sent Gina, who is an ex-sister-in-law, a message that she was not invited to the burial of my husband Mike's ashes last year. Mike died on July 3rd with very serious liver cancer. Now, Gina is a diagnosed borderline with narcissistic and suicidal tendencies, and unfortunately, I see the same behavior coming from her daughter, who is in her mid-30s. When it sunk into Gina that she truly wasn't invited, the shit hit the fan, because she still considers herself one of the immediate family in spite of her divorce from Alan over 15 or 20 years ago. And she doesn't like most of the family. She says she doesn't like Alan. She said he should have been the one to die instead of Mike. It's just, she's been terrible. So instead of being allowed to grieve in peace, I've been dealing with this crap in one form or another for most of the last year. I remember telling you I thought I was attracted to Alan, my brother-in-law, and you told me not to push it, to leave him alone because he was scared. He's battled alcoholism and drug abuse since he was about 14 or 15 years old and has no idea how to handle any of this except to run and hide. I made the mistake of telling him I was attracted to him and realized immediately I'd done the wrong thing. I apologized, and we went on with things we were doing. We weren't dating. We went fishing. We went to restaurants. We went to a movie. All Dutch treat, we were just hanging out together. And then all of a sudden, without warning or notice, he blocked me on Facebook and phone. And I was reeling in shock, but couldn't get through to him in any way to ask what happened. I still haven't heard directly from him, although he did send a message through a mutual friend that he would be talking to me soon. I'm not sure what's going on, but I guess I'll find out eventually. Then I learned that his daughter Sarah did tell Alan, if you have anything to do with Peggy, you can forget about a relationship with me and you'll never see your grandchildren again. Now, this is one of those things I find it almost impossible to believe, but I trust the person who told me. It came directly from Alan to the unnamed person. So now I truly believe that a narcissist will do anything at all to further their own goals to get that narc supply, no matter who they hurt or who they destroy. So I'm writing, I'll have a question for Ollie at the end, but I was pretty sure I had a flying monkey on my Facebook friend list and I wanted to expose the person. It was bothering me so much I did something deliberately that I never do, which is post my personal business. I posted something to the effect that Aunt Peggy had very little emotional support since Uncle Mike's death and that someone with an axe to grind was chipping away at family and friends one by one. By wording it the way I did, it was obvious, to a very select few that I was talking about Sarah. I wanted to see if this suspected person was the one who was feeding information to Gina and Sarah. I was right. Sarah wrote to me within 15 minutes, and I immediately deleted my post. These private messages are long and convoluted, so I'm only giving excerpts that are important, and hopefully you can get a good picture without all the minute details. Also, I am adding my own commentary as I read Sarah's messages. It helps me stay focused on what the truth is, which makes it possible for me to see the gaslighting immediately. It also allows me to vent, which I need badly. I can't really talk to many people here because there are only two that I trust. Plus, I don't like sharing details of my personal life except when I choose to broadcast it on Ollie Matthews' YouTube channel to the world. But Sarah just barreled in with, my mom isn't snooping about your business. If you were sorry and apologized to her, she may apologize for her reaction, but you started this. Well, first off, I didn't say her mom was snooping about my business. Secondly, I am not going to apologize. She must have fucking rocks in her head. I mean, this seems classic to me, as if she's saying, we've made your life a living hell, taking away one support after another, and anything that makes you happy or anybody that gave you any peace or happiness. But if you come crawling back and apologize.
You never apologize. You never apologize. They always want the apology because they're going to use it. Once you apologize, you've admitted you're wrong. And then comes the sentencing that never ends. You never apologize. Never.
We'll pretend you're part of the family again, and then we'll have access to everything you do, and it will feed our supply even more. So that was my take on that. But she continued and said no one was mad that Mom couldn't come to Mike's burial. Yeah, well, I beg to differ on that. Yeah, they were upset. Gina was doing nothing but whining and bitching, going around to friends, playing the victim, telling people she wasn't invited to the burial, and how hurt she was, crying, of course. There was nobody there but immediate family because that's what I wanted, and so did our grown children. I even had to tell the funeral director, who is also a friend, but, please put crazy glue on the lid of his urn. There's a crazy bitch running loose who wants some of his ashes. I'm not kidding. She actually asked me for some of his ashes, and I told her absolutely not. Sarah says, we were upset that you were so two-faced as to act like best friends until it didn't suit you anymore. I think she's just throwing out anything, hoping that some accusation will stick, and nothing is sticking. So she's not articulate anyway, and this, if you read the whole thing, you'd wonder if you were sane, because I pulled out the important parts. But, if Gina thought I was acting like a best friend, she was sadly mistaken. She would call me and proceed to unload for hours on the phone, slurring her words, obviously on some of her narcotic pills, God only knows what kind of mix. I was dealing with a husband who had terminal liver cancer, and she would start out by saying, I shouldn't bother you with my problems when you have so much on your plate, but, and off she'd go. She was lonely. She was having problems with Sarah. She was falling around all over the house, getting bruised up, and it wasn't safe for her to live there alone because her husband left her for about 18 months. Then she asked to move in with us. I said no. Finally, one day I got tired of hearing it and simply hung up on her. I still wondered how long she kept talking before she realized I was gone. So she was not a friend to me. She never had been. She was only interested in Mike's impending death because that put her close to a situation where she gets her biggest narc supply. She rolls in grief and death like a cat rolls in fucking catnip, thoroughly enjoying every minute of it. But Sarah had more to say. When the switch flipped and you said you'd blow out your brains if married to her is what we were initially upset about. Now this is major, major gaslighting here. They were upset about the fact that I said, Gina, you're not invited to the graveside service because you are an ex-in-law. But I guess to them, it looks better to make it seem as if it's about something else. And I did say that if I was married to her, I would blow my brains out. It's the truth. But it was in confidence to a person who seemed very...
Understand, this is punishment. They're doling out for some slight at your own husband's funeral. And they want you to apologize. You're the one who saw Mike die on the bathroom floor in the worst way possible. And yet they want you to apologize. It's too bad. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. Why would you want somebody like that sorry.
Understanding and agreed with me. However, this bitch I was confiding in sent Gina and Sarah a screenshot of my words. And at my age, I should have known better. I shouldn't have said that. It was unkind and cruel, and I was very sorry. But I also learned that yet another person could not be trusted. So I'm beginning to think nobody can be trusted hardly. But That's not what they were initially upset.
They're making you apologize for something you said after seeing your husband die. This is what you're fighting. In the moments, in the days after losing your husband in grief, they are holding you to something that happened. In the moments of one of the worst times of your life, losing your husband. The fact that you're even having this conversation with these idiots, with these fucking parasites. Like, do you realize, okay, even if you did say it, okay, I just lost my husband, was under... Do you see this, Peggy? Do you see the fact that you're even having the conversation with these people is unacceptable? Is unacceptable. It shows you how demonic they are. Instead of saying, well, you know what, Peggy, instead of saying to her, Sarah turning to, what's her name, you know, she just lost the guy. He died on the floor right in front of her. She's upset. No. They want their pound of flesh. You're not even allowed to grieve. You're not allowed to grieve. You're not allowed to have your own feelings, your own emotions. None of it. It's all to be held accountable to you, to be used against you.
About this statement was made several months after Mike's burial. It always helps to figure out a timeline about something like this. It makes it a lot harder for a narcissist to gaslight us. And if we have private messages that are dated, that's like gold. I mean, it puts the truth right there, and it can't be argued with. I was busy, so I just dashed off a quick message, same old shit rehashed. And I said, I'm busy. So do you think she honored that? Hell no, here she comes again. And she says, you're talking to total strangers about us. I read it. So she got a screenshot from my little flying monkey. And then she had the nerve to say, so just keep your mouth shut. My jaw dropped when I read that line because I would never have dared to go after one of my aunts like this. And I realize I'm from an older generation, but in fact, I probably would have been slapped so hard I'd still be looking for my teeth. I cannot believe the gall of this little snot who calls me aunt and would actually talk to me like this, brag about calling me out. The day this little shit calls me out is never. I didn't like all my aunts, and I was even a little bit afraid of one of them when I was very young, but I had enough respect for them that I would never have treated them this way. Sarah goes on, I do not really want to rehash anything with you until people start texting me where you're talking bad about us. You want to talk to my husband and everybody else online, but not to me when you're getting called out. So I guess she thinks I'm afraid of her. And I initially did want to talk to her husband. I liked him and thought he was reasonable and sensible, and above all, he knows what Gina is like. She's his mother-in-law. But as I mentioned in the Talladega video, Gina told me that she is giving him some of her pain medication. So he is bought lock, stock, and barrel. I don't know if he sells it. I don't know if he takes it. It doesn't really matter. But it boils down to the fact that he owes her the moon, and he has no choice but to jump to her defense because she owns him. She owns him, and now I refuse to talk to him about this mess. There's no point. It would simply be a waste of time and only give them more information for their narc supply. So I realized she wasn't going to stop, so I finally answered her, and I said, how dare you accuse me of talking about you with total strangers? Your name was never mentioned. Your mom's name was never mentioned. If the shoe fits, I guess you can wear it. And whether you like it or not, I'm quite a bit older than you and deserve a little respect whether you like me or not. Yeah, we lost Uncle Mike. Now here's the moment I've been waiting for. This is something that had been bothering me for several years, and I even mentioned it in that first video. And finally, here I had the opportunity to say what I thought about it. So I said, the only times you saw him in his 4-year illness was when he came to one of your kids' parties. You never set foot in this house to see him when he was feeling fairly well, but you both sure found time to show up at the ER when he was dead. And eventually the rest of his family is going to get this same speech. His youngest brother was never here, never even picked up a goddamn phone to ask how Mike was doing. His sister came twice in 4 years, and Mike was so terribly hurt about it. He wondered where everybody went, and I didn't know what to tell him. They were just totally disconnected and disinterested until things ramped up and we had a severe emergency here at home where he was non-responsive and died at the hospital. So when I say we were completely alone with this terminal illness and all we had was each other, I am not exaggerating. So I went on to tell her, I don't want to talk to David now either. This is unfixable. I thought my family was bad, but Jesus Christ, they're a walk in the park in comparison to this. Nobody put you in the middle except you. I will not apologize when I don't feel I'm in the wrong, and I will never be interested in a friendship with Gina again. I'm done. So Sarah jumped back at me again. If I hadn't lost respect for you before this whole situation, throwing up Uncle Mike's death in my face surely made me lose it now. So apparently she latched onto the respect thing because I mentioned it, and she thinks she's withholding something that's very important to me. But hell, I already knew she had no respect for me. It's not news. The girl never respected Mike either, otherwise she would have come to visit him. He thought she really cared about him, but he gave her far too much credit. She didn't really give a shit about either of us, just sucked up whatever narc supply she could from our situation. Then she started rehashing the same old thing, the order of the messages and who said what, and I've told that story so many times, I'm not going into it again. I just made sure I had my timeline in order, and I knew I was being gaslighted. But evidently my little speech about her not ever bringing the children here to the house to visit Mike hit a nerve or two. So she said, you have made it very clear that you don't care about us by saying that we only came around a few times, but we sure made it to the ER. Oh, God, throw the guilt all over me. She says, I just wanted to say goodbye to my Uncle Mike, and you know it. No, I don't know it. You know, if you're going to say goodbye to somebody, why wait till they're dead to do it? You do that by going to see, can I help you, Peggy? Can I help mop your kitchen floor? Can I bring in food? What's on his diet? Would you like me to come sit with him so you can go out and do something? I had nobody. It's just unreal. But there does need to be a correction. I didn't say they only came around a few times. I said they came around no fucking times. None. Zilch. Zero. Nada. None. They never set foot in this house for 4 years. I didn't want them at the ER that night staring at him after he was dead. I'm just grateful they didn't take a goddamn picture of him. This thing she said here is weird. She says, you are mad at both my mom and dad and taking it out on me. And I thought, where the hell is this coming from? Dad is Alan. Why would she bring him up when he had never been discussed between us at any time? But she said, you're right. We are not trying to be there for you now. You did that to yourself. I won't message you anymore. It's a shame instead of being a real family and leaning on one another, we'll just have to have separate pity parties, I guess. You've already told the world how fucked up my whole family is anyway, so you've made your intent perfectly well known. See you around. Won't that be fun? Well, I don't have to tell the world how fucked up her family is. Gina does that every time she opens her mouth. Oh, I'm just so sorry. I say things and do things, and I can't help it. I have a mental illness. I didn't mean to say anything to hurt you, but I can't help it. I have no control over what I do or say sometimes. Now, if this is really the truth, she needs to be confined somewhere if she's not in control of her own behavior. This woman has ruined my reputation. Told people I had an affair with Alan, cost me some friends, some because they believe her, but most because they're getting as far away from this fucking mess as possible. And I don't like the ominous tone of, see you around, won't that be fun? That kind of gives me the creeps. So the remark about Alan bothered me, so I wrote one last note, and I said, I only have one question. Just why would I have a reason to be mad at Alan? That's the one thing that jumped out at me that seemed odd. And she's not answering me, so I have no idea what that's all about.
Well, they're probably assuming you're mad because they kept Alan, I guess, in their mind from hanging around with you, Look, the Alan thing, you need to just wash your hands of all of it. Of all of it. because these people are all crazy, and Alan isn't strong enough to stand up to any of it himself. They know they're the reason for all this. They know their shit. That's why they're so concerned with who you're telling and why they're trying to destroy you now. That's why they're so intent on getting you to apologize for something. Because then they could tell, well, Peggy apologized. She's obviously wrong. Then what did you apologize for? You never apologize to them. Never. Never.
Now, a couple of weeks ago, and that's the end of the messages, but a couple of weeks ago there was another tragedy, and this is almost unbelievable. Gina's husband died after a serious heart attack and didn't survive an emergency quintuple bypass. He was only 50 years old and was a gentle, kind man with very straightforward, simple ways. He seemed to have nothing hidden about himself, but was open and friendly and never said a bad word about anybody, and I heard so many people say that. They met online, and I believe she put up a facade just long enough to get that ring on her finger, and then the real Gina came out. There were times he was obviously embarrassed by all her dramatics and theatrical behavior. I saw his embarrassment the night Alan's grandson turned 15 last September, and Gina and Sarah showed up with the intention of ambushing me. Exactly for what, I'm not sure, other than she kept saying it was too soon for after Mike's death for me to go fishing with Alan. So Gina's husband came up on the porch and quietly said hi and smiled at me. I walked by him when Gina wasn't looking and patted his shoulder to let him know I didn't hold him responsible for any of her behavior. And that was the night Alan and I left the party due to all the discomfort in the air, and Gina went into a jealous meltdown with her husband sitting there watching. I found out recently through some of his family that he was making plans to leave her again and make it permanent this time, so now he's dead. And I feel so badly for his family, his parents and siblings, for his children that Gina treated so horribly. They left her house in the middle of the night with no warning, and they never had much contact with their dad after that. He tried to travel out of state to visit them, but she always had some medical needs that prevented him from going. And I can't work up any sympathy for Gina, and this makes me wonder if there's something wrong with me. I just feel it would be dishonest and hypocritical for me to try to be friends with her just because her husband died. This woman treated me terribly. She and her daughter contrived between them to do anything and everything they could in the weeks after Mike's death to hurt me. I almost felt like they were trying to destroy me. They tried to destroy my reputation with lies about me and Alan, and now I found myself almost pretty much alone to deal with everything that's happened. I hate fucking narcissists and borderlines. I wouldn't treat Gina the way she treated me last year. I wouldn't do anything to deliberately hurt her. So I'm staying as far away as possible and have nothing to say to her or about her to anybody else. I can't even bring myself to write her a note of condolence, and that almost makes me feel as if I'm a bad person. This is not a matter of forgiveness. That doesn't enter into it. It's just that the hurt caused by her and her daughter has gone so deep that I'm still not seeing daylight after almost a year, and I doubt if I ever will. I never want them in my life again because they are what they are, and that's never going to change. So with the 4th of July coming up, I have some concerns. What do I do about events where we're all invited together? There's one person who always has a 4th of July party. I think I hear fireworks already. But this person has a 4th of July party, and we all attended. Even though Mike died last July 3rd, I got myself together and went to the party the next night so Sarah's 3 children could see that I was all right. Now, a couple of people insist they can remain friends with us both, and whoever starts drama will be asked to leave. So I'm careful not to mention either of their names or this situation, but I highly doubt if Gina and Sarah are staying silent on the matter. And for me to sit there and say nothing is starting to feel a little bit strange because it's like the elephant in the room that nobody wants to talk about. I'm very uncomfortable with this invitation, and I plan to send regrets instead of going. But I know that's going to offend some of those who invite me to these events. But I can't help how I feel. It's not worth it to go to their homes. knowing Gina and Sarah will be there just so I can show people I'm rising above this drama. But by not showing up, I think they believe it looks as if I'm in the wrong somehow and they have won the narcissistic battle. So I wanted to ask this question, but I also wanted to update this very strange story. Thank you very much for everything you do, and I'll see you on YouTube. Bye-bye.
What you do is you stop caring about what they think about you. Are you going to these events because you want to go? Or are you going to avoid being made out to be the bad guy? Because you're not going to win either way. My point is, what is the point of keeping all these people in your life if it's one battle after another after another? What's the point? They're bad people. They're bad people. They're not going to change. And here you are, you're worrying about all this condolence towards Gina, who basically only wanted to suck up the supply at Mike's funeral. You really think she gives a shit that her husband's dead? Yeah, she cares that her husband's dead. Or is she going to use this as a supply opportunity? Like Virginia, like my grandmother did when my grandfather died. It's just another excuse. So why do you even want to go? Like, I understand you like the guy, and she probably put him into an early grave. But again, funerals and all that, that's for the people there. Okay, you don't necessarily have to go there to honor somebody in death. You don't, because that's all up here. I mean, it's a dead body. It's a dead, and if you're burying your loved one, it's a little different. Okay? You have a responsibility to make sure everything gets done, and okay, but do you really need to see there and stand over a dead body, a coffin, in order to honor somebody's death? I don't buy that. It's like we get caught up into these silly little. What's the difference? You could still honor them. You could still without dealing with her, because it's not going to be about anything like that. It's not going to be about her. Why would you want to go to any event that Gina and Sarah are going to be about? Okay, so now now she can just make it about her husband dying at 50 years old. Why would you want to subject yourself to this? To do what? To prove you're not a bad person? To who? Who are you trying to prove this to? A bunch of enablers, drug addicts? I mean, who are these people to you? Who are they to you? Again, this is all about the apology, and you are in a constant battle not to be the bad guy. And it's a battle you'll never win because you keep playing the game. Peggy, the only way you win is not to play. You have no more pawns. You have no more chips in this game with these people. Unfortunately, you were with Mike a long time, and he passed. But at this point, it's not who they are. They are not family. Mike was your family. That died with Mike, unfortunately. I think that's what you're learning. And you had your own history with your own family. That's why you and Mike probably ended up together, coming from similar backgrounds. But it's time now to kind of regroup on your own, because these people bring nothing to you. Nothing. Nothing. But whatever you do, Peggy, whatever you do, you never apologize. Never. There you are, all worried about Gina's feelings when her husband gets trying to show them the respect they never showed you. Why? Not that you should disrespect them. But then why are you worried about going to holidays, still seeing them? Move on. Is anybody coming to see you? Probably not. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your contribution and for your story again. Congratulations on being video number 1000 on the channel. I appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up a Skype chat, phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video for someone else, or just sponsor the channel in general, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. And if you're still unclear, wait for the final video link to pop up on this video on the screen. That's the instructional video to walk you through all of that. Please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Now it's time for 1,000 more.